Hi, welcome to part 3 of the chopper restoration project. I'm going to continue stripping down, then we'll start doing some of the cleanup on the parts, assess them, see if there's anything that we need to change. What I'll do, grab my tools and we'll get started. That's the 3-speed lever. So remove that next, I think. Right, so we've got a couple of 9mm nuts on the bottom of here, which I think will lift this whole assembly off. Could be wrong. I'll have a look. Hopefully you can still see. There's one. Two. Yep, that just lifts out. Don't know if you can see in there at all. You've just got your mechanism for your gear lever. That goes through the frame on the right hand side. It's fastened to the rear leg. Just there. So the pedals and the crank, obviously the old-fashioned type where you have a pin that you knock through, it locks it onto the crank and then lock it on with a nut. So let's get these off. So I'm using, once again, it probably should be Imperial, but 11mm drops straight on, and there's no play in it, so I'll take that. I'm just going to not, I'm not going to take that off fully. I'm just going to take it to the end so I can hit it with a rubber mallet so I don't damage any of the threads when I'm trying to knock this pin through. Let's have a look. That's gone. A bit more. You have a pin. Oops, drop the hammer. You have a pin there. I don't know if you can see that. So it has like a sliding gradient on it. If I put bad description. It's like the more you knock it in, it locks it into place. I'm sure there's a proper way of saying that. Just slips my mind at the minute. So that goes through there, and as you knock it in that way, it locks itself onto this crank, and then you just tighten it up at the end. It's the same on the other side. I'm sure there's a scientific way of removing this as well, but what I'm going to do is just give it a tap. Lever it a bit without bending the sprocket. Go, that's off. Put that to one side. I think if I can flip this round easy enough, I'll get the other side off. Move you guys down a bit so you can see. Go. So hopefully you guys can see it now. So keep my hand out of the way. Same again, 11mm. Loosen that off. Tap it through with a rubber mallet. Like that. Pin out a bit of corrosion on that one. surface. Might just be able to see it on there. Clean that up from the wire wheel. Let's see if this will come off. Relatively easy. Next job, we'll get this crank out so we can get the bearing serviced. So looking at this, you've got a locking collar there. So I'll give that a knock. Try and work out, is it that way? I think it's that way. Anti-clockwise, have a look. Yep. I think it comes a bit unglued for me, but let's have a look. I think you should be able to turn this out with a sure there's a proper tool for it, but I don't have that tool, so I'll adapt. Looks like you're in there, you can see you've got your bearings in there. They'll need cleaning and probably soak them in a bit of petrol or solvent to clean all the dirty grease off, then repack them. And you've got your bottom bearing in there. I don't know if you can see in there, but there's the other, you just see the bearings in the back there. So I'm going to turn that one out so we can clean that and then clean all that tube out and put new grease in. So this chain is also pretty solid. It's not as bad as the purple bike chain, but it is seized quite badly. So what I'm going to do is split it, try and get it so you can see. So we do like we did on the low rider bike, you put it in the chain splitter and then wind it up. So once it's in, you just wind that so it pushes the, you can see pushing the pin out to the right hand side there, and that's to try and catch it before it pushes it all the way through. Unwind, and your chain splits in two like that, and you still retain the pin. And your chain's off. Last job is to get the front forks off. Not bad, but there's a little bit catching a bit when it goes that way, so we'll get them off and we'll service it while we're doing the rest. An adjustable spanner on the locking nut on the top. Loosen that. Pretty much the same design as we had with the low rider. You've got top that covers the bearings, stop any oil and dirt getting in them. Oh, dropped a load of bearings, didn't really want to do that. To find all those. Bit of a schoolboy over that, but anyway, find them on the floor in a minute. So yeah, you've got some in there, some in the other cup. And that is another indication that this bike has been resprayed. So it used to be purple, I think. it's a fairly decent indication that it was purple in the past, so it has been resprayed. Quite impressed by how they managed to get around the badge there without making a mess. But yep, I think it's going to end up having to stay sprayed unless I flat it down and repaint it. But yeah, originally purple. Right then, that's the strip down complete. I have left the kickstand in because, I'll be honest, I've not got a clue how that comes out. I don't know if it pulls out or whether there's something to do with that on the back of it, but to be honest, it works. It's a mess, but I can clean that up in situ. So we've got all the parts off, sissy bar off, wheels off, there's no other parts left on there. Got all the gear, linkages off. I'm going to leave the bearing collars, these cups, I'm going to leave those on, and the badge. As I say, not sure what we're doing with the frame colour yet. Need to ask Sean what he wants to do. I mean, if it's his bike, he may have even painted it, so he may want to keep it like this. Other than that, it'd be a case of maybe sand it down, prime it, but I think for this build it's going to be more of a clean it, put it back together, make it a good usable bike, and if the next owner wants to do that, well, that's their call. They can do it and they can send it back to the factory purple that it was. So just going to give you a shot down here. Plenty of parts down there to be cleaning and doing. So I think what we'll do is we'll get a couple on the bench and start cleaning them up, see how they come up. See, we've got some lotion for that to kind of clean it up and then polish it up, and then we can get I've got a couple of tyres, so the rear tyres, I found a couple on eBay, one for this, one for the other bike with the red line, so they are the correct tyres for the bike. I think the 20 by 2.125, the size of them, so we can get the hub and that cleaned and the gearing, get all that lubed up and done, and then just start cracking on and getting some of this chrome work and bright work cleaned up.